Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Tosh versus Protosszocker in round 2 of the 3rd Asia Pacific tournament. Today we're seeing Cheux, and on the Allied side, the Demi Brigade SAS led by Tosh, and on the Axis side, Protosszocker is choosing the 116th Panzer. So these divisions are very interesting indeed. Protosszocker bringing out the 116th, definitely influenced by Gonzo in my opinion. The 116th has been increased in popularity since Gonzo's success with the division, and it's nice to see other people try and replicate that, as it really sort of stems from a healthy esports community, so that's really awesome. But this matchup is kind of wonky because the Demi Brigade SAS, if they bring out the Jagdpanzer early on, which you can see Tarsh is going to do, it kind of throws off the 116th completely in open areas, because there is nothing on the side of the 116th that can penetrate the Jagdpanzer at max range or even 1000 meter range. The Marder 3 really suffers. There is a Pak 38 coming in from Protosszocker, which can be countered very easily. That can't even penetrate until the Jagdpanzer gets within like 500 meter range. At 600 meter range, it's still going to be bouncing. And at that range, the Jagdpanzer can then open up with its machine gun, and things really go downhill. So that is a very interesting choice here from Protosszocker. But we'll have to see how Protosszocker maybe plays around the terrain in order to nullify the advantage that Tosh is going to have on this bottom side. And it's going to be quite a large advantage indeed. Putting this Jagdpanzer into this area basically allows him to cover 2/3 of the bottom side of the map, which is really, really nice indeed. In terms of units coming out of Protosszocker into the town, it's going to be 2 units of Panzer in half tracks. They're going to be supported by 232s, and honestly I really like this play. The 232s are very strong vehicles. The 20mm autocannons on any vehicle are fantastic. But these guys have 3 front armor, which means they can't be pinned so easily by infantry, and they can tear infantry into pieces, which is really nice. And they can also destroy light armored vehicles as well if Tarsh decides to use any early on. However, generally it's not what you see because of the transports that the Demi Brigade uses. Couple of Spade Troop to accompany the 250-10 and Marder 3 I've already mentioned. And those half tracks that they'll be brought in will probably hide behind a couple tree lines to keep the front line forwards on the bottom side. Now for Tarsh's side of things, there's a lot of infantry. A lot of FF5 partisans as well. It's interesting to see how prevalent these partisans are in these FF5 tractions. I think they can be extremely effective, honestly, because of how fast they are, really. These F5 tractions, they are the fastest on-road speed vehicle with 135 kilometers per hour in the game. And it's not often I talk about speed of vehicles, but in this case, it definitely makes a difference. You can rush these partisans up to over halfway and unload before the enemy gets there with any of their units. And that is crazy stuff. Like, here in the town, if Tosh didn't just unload these early, I'm pretty sure he could have maybe unloaded a bit further up. Maybe that would be a little bit close to the 20mm autocannons of the 232s. But still, I think would have been worth the try. Western Lysander also being brought in from Tosh. That is going to reveal pretty much all of the units here that Protosszocker is using. Yeah, every single unit is spotted by Tosh right now. So that is crazy. Crazy, crazy recon. A Western Lysander is quite interesting because it can drop a couple bombs at a time onto unsuspecting targets. But here, 232 alongside 2 Panzer and 2 half tracks, smashing that F5 saboteurs, taking them down to 2 men. That is nuts. Western Lysander though, still harassing on this side. You can see bombs away once again. Straight on top of the Pak 38. Not quite pinning it down, but definitely doing the damage. And this could very easily open things up for the Jagdpanzer. I'm surprised that Tarsh isn't being more aggressive with his infantry here. He could just quite simply walk across the open supported by his Jagdpanzer and make a lot of ground by doing so. But currently, +1 in favour of Protosszocker. These 232s are definitely doing a fantastic job, and with the Panzergrens now in the church, one of the F5 saboteurs is going to go down. Tosh is going to be forced to bring in the B1 bis. Now, even if this Jagdpanzer died for whatever reason early on, there is still a Panzer IV that Protosszocker is going to have to worry about, and even that is a lot stronger than his Panzer IIIs that he would have other than this Marder III. Now, Pak 38s can deal with the Panzer IV quite nicely, but with this recon aircraft hanging about, it does make things a lot more difficult. So speed troop there now being bombed. Interesting target, as I don't think he can actually see them. Must have spotted where they stopped and decided to work with that. Smoke being dropped here by the Jedber. Maybe Tarsh is looking to be more aggressive with his F5 saboteurs, get them into range of the Panzergrens, because one of these TNTs would really do a lot of damage to the squads of Protosszocker. Protosszocker could maybe dodge it by moving out of a building that has the satchel thrown into, but still I think it'd be worth a try. But I'm still very interested in the fact that these F5 saboteurs were not unloaded further up. And in this case, saboteurs going to be revealing themselves. 232 going to be opening up and doing plenty of damage there. This Western Lysander ended up using up all of its ammunition and is now going to leave the battlefield in order to reload. Jagdpanzer going to be pushing up. Looks like it's going to be fast moving to the bottom side, maybe making some ground down here, since that Pak 38 is damaged. We do see a Panhard coming up to accompany the Jagdpanzer, but I think saboteurs or even a Makazars would be better down here to spot that Pak 38 better, because the thing is with recon vehicles is they only have high optics in comparison to infantry's very high optics, and that can make a huge difference. But here at the moment, Protosszocker really doing a good job. He's brought up a Flampanzer to assist him in continuing the push, and Tarsh's defense has been incredibly lackluster. All of the F5 saboteurs he brought in early on have pretty much been dealt with. This one forced to fall all the way back, the other two died. And his Panzergrens are retaining quite high health, which is really nice. Got large numbers of men still, and accompanied by these vehicles that will allow him to continue the push. Now the B1 bis is an issue in a sense that it can actually clean up a lot of these half-tracks and the 232s. But if a Panzerfaust gets in range, then that could make things very difficult for Tosh. Like if these Panzergrens went aggressive now, got into the building next to the rallies, I'm pretty sure they would be able to fire a Panzerfaust into the B1 bis, which would be something to look to do. These F5 partisans managing to sneak up and do some damage. Now they're using their Sten guns here alongside the Panzerfaust to hit both the Panzergrens and the 232. This 232 has something to say about it though, but Tosh not going to let that happen. But it's interesting to see how the 116th has stabilized. Usually you see quite an explosive start from the 116th, because if they don't make a lot of ground early on, they find themselves with lacking availability of units throughout the game. But in this case, I think Protosszocker done a really good job of stabilizing. Just as I say that, Tosh comes in with the Western Lysander, bombs those Panzergrens and gets them surrendered by the F5 rallies. Those rallies will then kill off the half-track with the Panzerfaust as well, or the Faust Patron. That's going to then make that surrender after it was bailed out. Marder 3. That's going to be engaging these rallies as they try and push up onto the Pak 38. That's now down to 1 health. Surprised to see this Jagdpanzer or Jagdpanzer not be as aggressive. Like with this Pak 38 down to 1 health, there is no reason, in my opinion, why you wouldn't be super aggressive with the Jagdpanzer. Like, as the Demi Brigade going into this matchup, you should identify that the Jagdpanzer defeats anything a Protosszocker can throw at him. Of course, there is a chance that, say, two Marder 3s could double team the Jagdpanzer and find a side shot, but the likelihood of that happening if you control the fight is pretty unlikely, especially when you have recon in the air with this Western Lysander. This Western Lysander, though, has done a lot of work so far. Getting those bombs in, pinning things down, doing a little bit of damage here and there. Definitely weakened the forces of Protosszocker. But now with the Panzer III on the field, that's going to be looking to take out this B1 bis. And then he can be more aggressive once again with his Panzergrens. Because a big issue with 116th in Phase A is you get like 6 infantry, right? You get 2 Panzergrens on 2 cards, and then you get a card of 2 MGs. Yes, they all come in with half-tracks, but with such a low availability of Panzergrens, it's very easy to be overwhelmed by a division that is very infantry-focused, like the Demi Brigade SAS. That's why you can see the reliance on so many vehicles here, and that's why I was very pleased to see the 232s brought in as like the close range fire support. And this Panhard is going to be able to clean up those half tracks nice and easy. The Panhard's actually a really good answer to both the 232s and these half tracks, unless this Panzer III can get up there and stop that attack from occurring. Now on this bottom side, Jagdpanzer is finally getting aggressive. Rightfully so, Protosszocker is going to be backing off with his Marder 3. The Pak-38 was eventually killed off down here, by the looks of things. Maybe the Tempest came in there and strafed it to death. F-Fire rallies in the church. Well, that wasn't even in the church, just in the building there. Going to get hit hard by the machine gun of these half-tracks. Now these half-tracks, they can be very, very strong indeed with the 3-star veterancy. Also, these MG42s can put down a lot of pain as well. Panzer III, going to be hitting the F5 Panhard. And pushing that back with the transmission damage. I'm not sure it's going to get away from the Panzer III. Although currently, Protosszocker not really microing this properly. He needs to sort of put it on a move order towards that Panhard so that it stops breaking the 1,000 meter range. 2341 recon vehicle coming in onto the top side to clean up these rallies in the tree line. But I like this focus on air from Tosh. The Western Lysander, especially accompanied by that Tempest, is very good for helping this Jagdpanzer from making ground. And the Panhard here assisting the Jagdpanzer actually allows the Jagdpanzer to focus on heavier targets like these Marder 3s, whilst the Panhard cleans up the lighter units. So 51% territory lead in favour of Tosh. I honestly expected it to go way more in favour of the Demi Brigade SAS at this point, because they really have an advantage early on. This Jagdpanzer is just unstoppable. He could quite simply keep rolling that forwards, and unless Protosszocker found himself a really nice flank, it's going to be hard to deal with it. And that's what you could play off in these early phases. So the 259s, they're going to be coming in with their 20mm autocannons, harassing the Western Lysander there, but not doing too much damage. Interesting to see that Panhard actually knock out the shooter on the Panzer III, and that Panzer III showing side armor. That is very risky as well. As it recovers, it should be able to throw back some fire, which might make this Panhard fall back if it gets hit. There we go. But can this Panzer III finally land the shot onto the Panhard and get the kill? This is one problem I actually find with the Panzer III. Even though it does apparently have 5 accuracy, I generally find it misses quite a bit. But the Panhard finally going down there, and that's going to open up some ground for Protosszocker on the very top side. But things in general very slow so far. Western Lysander used up all of its bombs now. It's going to be returning to base. On the bottom side, Jagdpanzer definitely getting aggressive now, which is nice to see. Saboteurs have arrived and will provide that very high optics that the Jagdpanzer requires to spot AT guns in tree lines from far off. But Protosszocker has something to deal with it. Ju-87 going to be brought in. Now, as long as he reverses away from that, it's unlikely that his Jagdpanzer is going to die. You can see the amount of shots there that bounced off the front of the Jagdpanzer. But with the approach of the 232 and the 250-10, wow, the 250-10 managed to get a side shot onto the Jagdpanzer and take it out. That is incredible. Panhard's not able to finish off those vehicles in time. It is going to get pinned down itself. Tempest is going to be shooting down the Ju-87, I think, unless the Ju-87 managed to get out. I can't see any crash sites. But either way, with the Jagdpanzer gone, that swings things well in favour of Protosszocker. Panzer IV going to be engaging all of these vehicles on the top side of the town. Tosh now bringing that in to deal with this Panzer III that has been harassing him. An AT gun is also on the way. I'm not entirely sure of its location though and where it's heading. Seems a bit odd to me. Maybe he's trying to come round further back in order to drive it up to the very top of the map. But it was forced to unload there as it did get hit briefly by some machine gun fire. Going to be able to clean up a half track there. Panzer IV's got a lot of work to do, that's for sure. But as we move into phase B, this is where the elite infantry of the Demi Brigade SAS starts to arrive. They are weak on the income. They don't need much income to bring in that powerful infantry. On this bottom side, something needs to be done. I would suggest maybe a Pak 40 would be a nice idea, because Protosszocker wouldn't be able to deal with that too well at the moment without a Panzerwerfer on the field. F5 Partisan's going to be engine destroying the 2341, and the engagement continues in the town here. The 2341 went down. The 259s were not in range to do anything about that. SES Gruppe FM going to try and engage the Panzergrens, but going to come under a lot of fire very quickly. Yeah, look at that suppression. They're in heavy cover. That is a lot of suppression. Don't put your infantry in the tower, especially after the first 5 minutes of the game, because that's what could happen. Now, one thing that Tarsh does have to be careful of here is if he allows the 116th to build up enough forces in A and B, he could make it incredibly hard for himself in the later phases. Because as soon as Protosszocker gets a Panther onto the field and he still has the 20mm autocannons to support them, that makes things extremely difficult. And the Ju-87 here, going to force the Panzer IV to fall back, not quite get the kill. So I'm assuming this is the same Ju-87 that hit the Jagdpanzer, so probably didn't die in the process. ME-109 G6R6 now coming in to escort that. Interesting stuff indeed. 51% territory now swinging in favour of Protosszocker, but Panzer III has arrived. Tosh there going to be able to take out the 250-10. Can he try and find some kills onto other units? Wow! He managed to get the 232 kill. That is insane. It's only got 4 accuracy and it just hit 2 accurate shots in a row. That's insane. Now it looks like Tosh is going to have to rely on these partisans to prevent any more armor push on the bottom side, since the Panzer IIIs aren't really going to be able to deal with Marders. I find these these Panzer IIIs actually a very odd choice in the grand scheme of things. Like, to me, the Pak 40 would have been way better, because that can deal with these units at range, whereas the Panzer III really cannot, especially with its low accuracy. Pak 40 is in line of sight of these 259s. Going to be smashing one. Can it kill off the other? That one, I believe, is just behind cover there. Protosszocker didn't need to move it. I feel like he might leave it vulnerable by moving it. Maybe not this time around. Just manages to get out of line of sight in time. Now recon for Tarsh in the town does go down, and his SAS Gruppe FM aren't lasting very long at all. All of these machine guns on all of these half tracks are definitely building up. The 232 also coming in with the 20mm now. It's going to be really up to this Panzer and also the B1 BIS to find kills onto a lot of these vehicles. Otherwise, things are just going to get harder and harder. Currently, Protosszocker has an answer to all of the infantry that Tosh can bring in. And one thing that's really quite annoying about the Demi Brigade SAS is they do rely quite heavily on 150 meter range AT, which is often just out of range of half tracks in this sort of scenario. He has managed to get some SAS Chasseur Palais up, but these guys again, they only have gammon bombs. Yes, the squads are very nice, and at close range they can do a lot of damage to enemy infantry, but they don't have the AT needed to stop the fire support. 100 meter range is just not good enough, and in this case, Chasseur Palais against Pioneers. Pioneers actually win this quite convincingly, because of the grenade, of course. So Tosh is going to have to recognise when that Pioneer's throwing its grenade, otherwise that is a very vulnerable Chasseur Palais. And since they're not 3-star, Protosszocker could jump forwards here quickly and get that surrender. It's not in range of this B1 BIS command, which is important. But doesn't really need to move forward since the firepower there is quite significant. Further down, Panzer III has been weapon jammed. On the very bottom side of the map, rallies are being found. So we haven't really missed too much down here, other than looks like half tracks probing and finding a couple of infantry squads and pushing them back. 54% territory lead now in favour of Protosszocker. Now if this rally does get surrendered or killed, this half track could find a nice salient on the bottom side, that's for sure. 2-inch mortar now arriving to assist against the infantry of Protosszocker. But I really like the way that Protosszocker is playing the 116th in this one. He's like building up his forces and not being overly aggressive. And that could lead to a very powerful phase C for Protosszocker if he can use the amount of forces he has on the field at the moment to delay the game and save himself up for a Panther. Now 257 has been brought in to counter battery the 2-inch mortar. Only takes one shot on target to get that kill. So Tosh is going to have to be very careful, and there you can see, boom, one shot from the 257 finds the mortar, kill. Another weakness of the Demi Brigade, their artillery early on is not fantastic. Panzerwerfer has arrived. Protosszocker looking to find room in the other side of the town now. Or that mortar landing directly on target of this Pack 40 as well. So let's see if this Panzerwerfer can find itself any kills other than this infantry unit. He needs to ideally pin the SAS Chasseurs. Otherwise the Panzergrens aren't really going to be able to succeed in that engagement, especially when they're only using their Kar 98s. Tarsh is going to fall back from that. More infantry is on the way from Tarsh. But is it going to be enough? I'm not entirely convinced. Pioneers now moving on the bottom side. 56% territory lead. Half track goes down on the side of Tarsh. One of the infantry dies before it gets unloaded. Actually, yeah, I think it did, yeah. 2 Makazars are going to get slammed by the half track and the 232 and the Panzer III. That's a 12 strength squad dying very quickly indeed. Way quicker than Tarsh would have liked. And with this B1 falling back, all of this infantry is just very vulnerable to surrender. The 232 does actually find the kill onto the Panzer as well. And a +2 easily in favour of Protosszocker. Panzergrens advancing across the open here. Not something you see often with the 116th because they can't really afford to be this aggressive with infantry usually. But considering the situation that Protosszocker in right here, I think he can sacrifice a unit or two. Ju-87 trying to come in for a kill onto the B1 BIS, but not being successful. ME-109 G6R6 was brought in as well, but just to escort that. Now mortar fire coming in onto the F5 Partisans and Maquisards. That's going to be the cue for Protosszocker to move up with the Panzergren shortly. This ground made on the bottom side is pretty crazy indeed, but this Pak 40 doing a very good job of holding the ground down here. And I would have liked to have seen that brought in earlier on. It definitely helps contain the lighter vehicles and the Marder 3s that Protosszocker is using here to push forwards. These Pioneers may be getting a bit greedy here. Protosszocker is going to have to be a bit careful of that, but putting them onto return fire maybe in these trees would be a good way to counter the SAS Chasseur Para quite nicely. Because all he needs to get off is one grenade, pin them down, and then he gets to surrender because there's no command down here. So, we're into phase C. I'm now looking to see if Protosszocker decides to buy himself a Panther, because I feel like that would be incredibly hard for Tosh to deal with at this point. He's bringing in lots of M4A3s, and I'm not entirely sure if Protosszocker wants to let those build up, because even though, you know, Protosszocker does have Panthers, Tosh could very easily overwhelm him at this point. 150 points per minute. Tosh has got to keep, or Protosszocker has got to keep Tosh down. Otherwise, things could swing back in Tosh's favour very heavily. Especially considering these tanks are actually quite high veterancy as well. You can see the M4A3 there with its machine gun fire support doing a lot of damage. Surprised these M3 half-tracks haven't unloaded though. That could be a mistake. Panzer III almost managed to get a kill onto the M3 half-track there before the armoured rifles unloaded. Panzerwerfer firing away once again. Almost perfect timing, really. That's managed to take out a couple of the squads with the help of the MG42. But if that was a little bit more delayed, the armoured rifles may have also been caught in that. One of the AA pieces here does go down. That's going to be the Vespa picking that up. Pak 40. Surprised it hasn't picked up more kills, honestly. But I guess the lack of veterancy really letting it down. If it was even 1 star, we'd likely see that do a lot more damage. Pioneer's going to be approached by the Chasseur Para. Para really need to kill them off like pretty much instantly. And, well, they more or less do. Do take a chunk of damage from the grenade, but that pushes Protosszocker back to only a +1. But 1,050 points now in favour of Protosszocker. SAS Gruppe FM, they're going to be moving up towards this 259. At the 50 metre range, can kill off that 259. But have to be careful of being revealed there, since the 20 more autocannon will rip them to shreds. 257 continuing to try and take care of the Pak 40 here. So the use of these Panzer IIIs in close quarters has prevented Tosh from pushing forward so far. ME-109 G6R6 going to easily take down that Western Lysander. Now going to be engaged by the Tempest. Tempest getting off a nice hit there onto the ME-109. With the assistance of the 50 cals of the M4A3s, so I think that ME-109 is going to be forced to fall back at some point. Ju-87 may also have to get out of there. Otherwise, it's likely to get itself shot down as well in a double pass. That Tempest really should be finishing off the ME-109 G6R6 at this point. Yeah, it does manage to make the Ju-87 fall back. But now the Tempest is over enemy territory. And he's going to have an ME-109 G6R6 on his tail very shortly. So Protosszocker winning that air engagement, and Tosh losing a Tempest there. That's pretty heartbreaking, as he loses the air domination that he did have very early on. So Panzergren's going to be taking out some F5 Partisans. SAS Gruppe FM are going to be revealed, and the 259 is going to be opening up onto those. That may allow the Panzergrens to get a surrender there. However, SAS Gruppe FM going to pin down the Panzergrens faster with the help of the Pak 40. Pack 14 now dead to a direct hit from the 257. So Panther G has arrived on this bottom side. Protosszocker able to afford that, since he's not under an incredible amount of pressure. And with only 120 points per minute, that's quite an achievement. So Panther G, can it be killed by this M4A376? I am not convinced. I think it's going to take a long time for Tosh to get into a position to basically make this Panther G fall back. Unless Protosszocker maybe gets a bit over aggressive with it, because there's a very good chance that the M4A3 and Panzer 3 here, alongside these two tanks at the bottom, could just go all out onto this Panther G. But nope, that's not going to happen. The poor Sherman here was forfeit to the guns of the Marder 3 and the Panther G. In the town, armoured rifles are arriving. M4A3 going to be able to get the transmission damage onto the Panzer 3. If he can find the kill, that would be fantastic. But it looks like the Panzer 3 just about managed to reverse its way between some buildings there. All armoured rifles jumping out in the face of the Panzer 3 here. Can the bazooka do the job? No, it cannot. Since the armoured rifles have been pinned down in the face of the Panzer 3, so have the second armoured rifles there. And that's going to mean one of them has been pinned down and surrendered. These armoured rifles do manage to take out a Panzer 3 on the bottom side. But with the reinforcements now coming in from Protosszocker, this could make things very difficult to push up. Panzer 3 going to be trying to reverse out of there. But those machine guns will be very useful in pinning down any new infantry that decide to arrive. M4A3 going to be smashing that Panzer 3 at close range. Tosh is really trying hard now to make a comeback. But losing the Sherman up here is really sad, because that kind of stops the flank onto the Panther G. Partisans have revealed themselves. Now probably going to die with that failed strike, unless the machine guns aren't quick enough to kill them, which is going to be the case. Wow. So this M4A3 now going to clean up a lot of units at close range. Protosszocker might have to fall back with his Panzerwerfer and his mortar at this point, because it's very likely this M4A3 is going to continue to make ground. But 10 minutes left on the clock until Protosszocker wins, and he is sitting on 1,350 points, and that's going to continue to tick as the game goes on at the moment. Panther G getting aggressive here. Could be a mistake from Protosszocker. Ju-87 coming in for an attack on the top side. He really needs to get rid of this M4A3. Gets the internal fragment. That is very nice indeed. However, another M4A3 is on the way, and that could continue to make things difficult. So I feel like this has been a relatively slow game throughout. I think the lack of pressure from the Jagdpanzer on the bottom side from Tosh early on really sort of cost him the early game, when he could have made a lot of ground. He did make a little bit of ground and get himself the 264 points, but if he doesn't find himself a +1 soon enough, then he's going to be in trouble. And this Marder 3 once again going to be attack moving towards the Partisans, which have a second chance to hit their Panzerfaust, and this time they're not going to miss. They're going to get that kill, Marder 3 down. Partisans, will they survive? Can that guy keep his head down? He can. Gets back into cover. I can't believe that Partisan has been allowed to stay alive. Pretty incredible. M4A3 trying to kill off the 259. Panzerwerfer has been moved back here. This 257 should also be moving back. Panzergrenz slowly but surely being cleaned up by the overwhelming amount of forces coming through this town now from Tosh. Panther G, that's going to be engaging the Panzer 3. That was weapon jam, so couldn't fire back. Pack 38, going to be covering that advance as well. I'm surprised that Tosh didn't use these forces down on the bottom side to flank that Panther G before it moved behind this tree line. Well, that is a definite missed opportunity there. 2 M4A3 76 mils. Could have easily done a lot of damage at that range. That is like the 1000 meter range, which gives them like 15 AP, which really starts to put the hurt onto the Panther G. That Panther G now just cleaning house. Gonna take out that Panzer III down here. But these Chasseurs Para might have something to say about this advance. If Protosszocker isn't too careful, we need to make sure these Speertroop get ahead of him. Panzergren's now engaging armoured rifles at close range. Panzerwerfer has come into direct line of sight of the M4A3. Vesper going to try and stop that M4A3 from being accurate with some pinning shots from the Vesper, but I don't know. At this point, Tosh could just break all the way through up here. There is going to be a response of a Panther G from Protosszocker, so saving up again for another very expensive tank. Will that be enough to secure Protosszocker the game? At this point, yes. Chasseurs Para were not able to finish off Panzergrens. I think it was these M4A3s that ended up doing the job. Para getting hit very hard. Indeed. So yeah, it looks like Protosszocker just able to keep the front line forwards at the moment with this Panther G. Yes, he can try and do a flanking maneuver with the M4A3s, but that sort of chance has long passed. On this top side, this Panther G could really use some command, but in general should be able to deal with the M4A3s quite nicely, especially with the help of the Ju-87. And that Ju-87 does manage to kill off one of the M4A3s this time around. I think that was the first kill that Ju-87 got. Might end up getting shot down by the M16s though. Yep, it does. All the 50 cal fire from the other M4A3s, this M16, MGMC, and the Cannon CA 25mm here, all working in unison to take down that Ju-87. I'm not even sure if that paid itself off, because I didn't see it get any other kills throughout the game so far. It did help pin the Jagdpanzer, but didn't get credited the kill in the end. Panther G, going to be trying to get rid of that M3 half-track on the top side, maintain the +1 for Protosszocker. New M4A3 going to be brought in. Not quite in range of Protossocker's Panther. But this push through here is actually pretty vulnerable at this point. If these M4A376s pop out at close range, that's going to be some very dead units. This Panther G especially. Although the Panther G, if it has chance to kill them one at a time, it will. And that's going to be the first of maybe many Shermans going down. Tosh has to be very careful about this engagement. Can the Panther hold its ground? No, it cannot. M4A3, superior aim time at that range. Does the job. Panthers are burning. And it looks like the Marder 3 may also go down as well. Tarsh has managed to stop this push coming in here from Protosszocker, but at what cost? Because he's not going to be able to make back the ground. He does have his Western Lysander, that's likely to get killed off by these ME-109s very quickly though. Oh wow. Here we go. Air engagement, Tempests versus ME-109s. At 38, close range. Can it kill off an M4A3? It has a couple shots on target at least. Gets the track wheel damaged. Third shot might find the kill. It does indeed. M4A1 gets a direct shot on target though. Can the Pak-38 return the favour? No, it cannot. It actually misses its shot. Gets pinned down by the 50 cal. Pak-38 did its job, taking out at least one of those M4A3s. But things back to 50-50. Only just now has Tosh stopped the +1 from Protosszocker, 1,707 points in his favour, or in Protossocker's favour. 3 minutes now until Protosszocker wins the game. So Tosh can't really be hanging about here. He really just needs to get his groove on, start going super aggressive with his Shermans. Like, he may as well, otherwise he loses. Killing off the Panther was a nice job on this bottom side, but now he's got to make sure that he continues this push as quickly as he can, because he needs like a +4, +5 in order to win this. It may seem impossible at this point though, especially with two Pak 40s here sitting and watching this top side of the town. That is not nice to go up against, because as soon as these tanks are pinned down, the Panther G can just roll up and take them out. That may be what Protosszocker is planning to do. Both the ME-109s did end up getting shot down by Tosh. Looks like that was mainly due to a fuel shortage on the side of the ME-109s. Panther G, that's going to be opening up onto this M4A3. Can it get a second shot on target? Yes, it can. Boom. Sherman down. There's one left, able to engage at close range. Can he be the hero that Tosh needs? Not that it would matter at this point. Oh no, the M4A3 is going to reveal itself and fire its main gun at the Pioneers. That's going to give the Panther G the chance to get the first shot, and that was a huge mistake. Allowing that HE shell to go off was deadly indeed. Panzergren's going to be engaging Chasseur Para in the open. As long as Protosszocker just continues to put up resistance across the rest of the map, I'm pretty sure he has this in the bag. And I think it's the first time that I've seen a slow play out of the 116th actually work. And part of me feels like that is Tosh's fault, because he wasn't as aggressive as I think he could have been with the Jagdpanzer earlier on. 40 seconds left on the match. No way that he's getting enough points in time. Panzer III going to be causing issues on the bottom side. Panther G holding its own on the top side. Vesper just going to be falling back and making sure he's out of range. However, didn't fall back enough. M4A 376 will be able to shoot that Vesper soon enough. Unless all of these forces are just fast moving up the road. There is 8 seconds left. Panzer III, close range. Oh, nearly fulfilled his dream of killing a Sherman. But not quite. 40-minute game. Protosszocker going to win by conquest lead of 1,707 points. The kill death, relatively close. Tosh there with the 3,265 kills to 3,210 losses, and of course vice versa for Protosszocker. Kills, let's see. These Western Lysander managed to get 2 of these Panzergren surrendered, I think, on the top side in the town, which is quite nice. Tempest here managed to shoot down the Ju-87. Managed to kill off the Pak 38 on the bottom side as well. Panhard cleaned up some half-tracks. That's really what the Panhards are good for. Cleaning up those machine gun half-tracks. Maybe not so much the 20mm vehicles because they can fire back. And generally the sort of 20mm vehicles have like 4 AP at 800 meter range, which isn't enough to penetrate a Panhard. So that can be kind of difficult to deal with, but in terms of machine gun vehicles, you can see it managed to take out the Flam Panzer and so on for Tosh throughout the game, which was really good. The Panzer IIIs, I'm surprised when the Panzer III came in on the bottom side and got 2 shots one after the other. That was pretty incredible. But just in general, in the early phase A and B, not enough kills to make a difference for Tosh at all. As we move into the later game, well, the M4A3 arriving here definitely paid itself off, killing off a Panther G. Then we see armoured rifles there. The Befehl Panzer III going down to them. This M4A3 that pushed through the town. A very, very nice amount of kills as well. And of course this one killing off a Panzerwerfer and so on. Yeah, a lot of the kills coming in later on for Tarsh, and it just was too late. Too late indeed. In terms of losses, Protosszoker's kills with this Panzer 3M was very nice. Took out a Panhard, took out a couple of half-tracks and plenty of the infantry. The overwhelming machine gun support of the 2 Panzergrens in that town was just very nice. And I think Protosszoker really exploited the short-range AT capabilities of the Demi Brigade SAS. So that was really nice to see. This 250-10 killing a Jagdpanzer, I don't think it really gets much better than that. The pin from the Ju-87 allowed this 250-10 to find a side shot, and that was the shot of the century, really. Finding that kill was just insane. The Semi-109 didn't do too bad, taking down a Tempest and a Western Lysander. And this Ju-87 did kill off the Panzer IV and an M4A3, so it did actually pay itself off in the end. And I mean, pinning down the Jagdpanzer, I think, was well worth it, because taking out that really strong Phase A unit allowed Protosszoker to make ground towards the end of Phase A, which is exactly what he shouldn't have been able to do. Marder 3, picking up a few kills here and there. Panzerwerfer didn't do too much in this game. Panther G, that picked up quite a few kills. 2 Panzer 3s and M4A375. And this one taking out the 2 M4A375s towards the end. And that's pretty much your lot. So an interesting, slower game from the 116th. But maybe some failings from Tosh along the way. That's all for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.